People are constantly saying that the old Call of Duty games are peak, and people dare to say that they're even better than the new ones. But people always bring up games like MW2, Black Ops 2, and they are living proof that these games are better than the new ones and that the new games have completely fell off. And while these games were great, they just were not perfect, and I think nostalgia has truly brainwashed the community all around. Older Call of Duty games have broken weapons, horrible guns, bad spawns, matchmaking issues, the full nine. They have it all. But the difference is that people remember a lot of good moments and they forget everything wrong with those games. And as a marketer, and I'm 25, so I grew up between older Call of Duties and newer Call of Duties. And I constantly see how people's opinions are swayed online because all the clip farmers and content creators are just talking about how they remember hanging out after school, staying up late at night, unlocking guns, unlocking camos, and just experiencing everything for the first time. And while that is great, and I'm not disrespecting anyone's, moments in their life at all and their experiences, and but that ultimately has nothing to do with the games being better or worse. I think a lot of people constantly project their personal experiences onto the whole, I would say the whole grand scheme of things, that their personal experiences make or break whether the game was good or bad. And I really just don't agree with that as a whole. And I'm not saying it's every content creator, but a majority of what you see online, especially with the BO2 port for PS5 being, so, a talked about movement right now, I just think it really is taken away from the direction that the new era of Call of Duty that is really moving forward. But then again, you're missing the old games, you're missing the nostalgia farming, and the Call of Duty developers are really stuck in this gray area because they want to try new ideas and better mechanics to make the game better as a whole, but they can't because the community is really constraining them to, but let's make it like this, let's make it like that, let's make it like that, right? And again, BO2, well, it was a great game. MW2 was a great game, but it's not realistic to say that they're better than the new ones. They were peak and that they were the standard of what Call of Duty should be, and it really is harping down on what I would say the community of the team at Activision and the devs are at every Call of Duty studio, what they're trying to establish for each and every single Call of Duty. And again, every single year you'll see this throughout all the games, no matter if it is a Treyarch game, a Sledgehammer game, or I forgot the other studio, Infinity Ward, right? You'll see this every year. Every year the community says it wants something fresh, a new concept. They want a new moment in time for Call of Duty, and then the devs will make new changes to the movement, progression, perks, maps, and major system changes. And no matter what it is, they'll make that change, right? And then as soon as the community sees it, without fail, they ask for the old version back. They'll simply just revolt. I swear on everything, if you could live stream people puking, they would do that because that's how they react instantaneously when they see new ideas. And you'll see this a lot on Twitter. I think Twitter is probably the main hub for quick reactions and a lot of vague posting, and you'll see that constantly within the community. There's not a lot of full complete thoughts. Obviously here on YouTube you have a lot of long form content and you'll have a lot of good opinions and a lot of bad ones at that, but they're more fleshed out, just like this video. But that being said, when the developers also decide to bring old maps, old guns, old characters, and you'll see that within trailers, and you'll see that within new games, and you'll be like, oh wow, they're bringing this back. But as soon as they bring it back, give it a few weeks, the hype is gone, and they're like, oh, the game feels recycled. And to this point, again, look at what we went through. We went through Black Ops 6, 7, back to back. We did MW3 again, MW2 again, and now we're on MW4. And that's not to say there weren't new things within this concept of, what they're trying to execute within those games. However, the fact is we're bringing old things back and then boom, right away without even experiencing the full game. They'll read the title, they'll read, they'll look at the first initial marketing, and they're like, the game's already recycled. There's nothing new for me to play here. And then the community gets really stuck. And my question is which one is it? Do you want innovation? Do you want new ideas? Do you want fresh content? And then the community, as soon as we get that, they'll punish all the ideas. Anything that was really fleshed out by the devs and they had proper reasons for making those decisions, they'll punish it right away. They don't even give it a chance to develop. And an example, look at what MW4 and this new idea of kill block and how they have this. I honestly think the idea is really great of all the combinations within the maps and the guns and just the layout of giving just, I would say, variability within the game itself and keeping it, I would say, relatively fresh every time you play it. Because at the end of the day, Call of Duty at its heart is just kill, die, respawn. That's what Call of Duty is. That is the formula of making a Call of Duty. And I would definitely say this is a new, fresh idea. But if you go on multiple platforms and look at, Twitter, YouTube, you constantly see that everyone's trying to clip farm the negativity around it and, thus killing the hype for the game. And if I was a new player or a player that normally doesn't play Call of Duty, or let's say I just mained one game and I wanted to look at Call of Duty and had no idea what was going on in the community, and I just see the straight negativity from this new idea, I wouldn't even want to play it. Like, it scares away new players. It really does. And I don't think majority of the community understands this toxic cycle that we're in as a whole, because it's so easy to clip farm. It's so easy to say something negative. It's so easy to not give a fleshed out thought and just nostalgia farm and just be like, oh guys, but remember Black Ops 1 though? Like, look how good this game was. Oh man, look how good. Oh man, the new Call of Duties, they don't even look good. Oh man, they just doesn't even feel good. It just kills any new player, any and honestly, as a dev and as a marketer or anybody that has anything to do with making a Call of Duty, it just, honestly, that must kill them on the inside. I would never want to be on social media if I really did work on a Call of Duty, because the brain dead, nostalgia farming and the thoughts are just killing the game constantly. And I feel so bad because they're really stuck, and you have to see it from a full perspective here, because the community is asking for the past, the developers listen, then Activision is going to sell it to you, because they're not going to give it to you for free by no means, right? So the Activision is going to sell it to you, and then as soon as we get it, the hype wears off, everybody complains that Call of Duty has no fresh or original ideas. And then nostalgia farming has truly stained, I would say, one of the greatest games that has impacted the gaming industry and the history of gaming, and people are just so brainwashed and brain dead, and they can't even see it. And that's really hard to look at for somebody that has experienced older Call of Duties. And I'm talking, my first Call of Duty was Black Ops 1. That's what got me into multiplayer. Then I'm a fan of even Black Ops 7. Even though there's tons of problems with Black Ops 7, I'm a fan of both ranges. And I get to see a lot of perspectives online between older Call of Duty players, new Call of Duty players, and the people that are in between, like myself. And I just can't believe what I'm reading, and the lack of perspective and knowledge that really goes into just making content or just giving, their opinion online. But I really do think nostalgia farming has killed a lot of what Call of Duty is really meant to be. And I feel really bad for the devs. And the devs, honestly, they need a lot more breathing room to create new maps, new weapons, new mechanics, new experiences for the players, whether that's returning players or that's new players. They need that breathing room. But they are getting suffocated by the fans that are constantly like, oh, but remember Black Ops 1 though? Oh, remember Modern Warfare though? Remember MW2? Nah, remember Piccadilly though? Remember that? And it's so hard to, as a dev, to appease everyone, and they're never gonna get anywhere, because it's impossible, right? It's impossible to operate in this gray area, because if you don't do what the community asks right away, what's the answer to that? Community's gonna complain and say they don't listen to community, the devs are completely disconnected from us, don't play this game, Call of Duty's dead. And then obviously T-Dog, right? He's gonna make contact like Call of Duty's back, but Call of Duty's never left. The problem was that nobody wanted to adopt new ideas, and I'm not excusing a lot of the bad decisions that Activision and a lot of the studios made, because obviously, when you're trying to make a new game every single year and you're trying to develop new things, of course you're gonna make mistakes. I'm not excusing that, but the problem is that the community is gonna complain over a game for a bunch of clicks, a bunch of things that are going to disarm any new player from wanting to play the new game. Therefore, it's impossible to please everyone and keep everyone happy. It's impossible. It just is. And don't get me wrong, like I said before, this isn't to excuse a lot of the current gen Call of Duties that have made plenty of mistakes. And quite frankly, if we look at the name itself, right, and this is what people, and this is a big problem with Call of Duty, right? Remaking old Call of Duties or using that name title for a new game, MW2, MW3, Black Ops 6, Black Ops 7, and everything in between that, that is part of the problem. And there are still real problems with matchmaking, monetization, updates, balancing, you name it. The big decisions within the game, there are still problems with that. That's not excusing that. However, the fact is, everyone hopping online with this Black Ops 2 port and making content around it, and I get it. It's something new. You want to make content on it, and I fully agree with that. But it's just killing Call of Duty, and nobody really seems to understand that. It just really is. Because if you really think about it, everyone's been asking, yo, make a MW2 remaster. Oh my god, they do that. That's going to be peak. Call of Duty's going to be back. It's just, even if they remade that game and they remastered everything about it, there's still going to be major problems with it. It's not going to be perfect. And I'm so glad that they haven't done that yet. And I hope they never do. I hope they never give into the community and giving them that game, because I promise you, it's going to ruin the game for people. Because if they give you a remastered version and they give you truly what you want, and you get back into that mode of like, wow, this is what MW2 was like, you're going to hate it. You're going to hate it. The game wasn't perfect. But it's perfect for the time that it was in. And if they give you a remastered version, I promise you the community is going to fry Activision. They're going to fry all the devs. And I'm really happy they have not made that decision. Just for the community's sake, just for Call of Duty's sake, And again, when you have the community saying, old Call of Duty was better, why don't they make the new ones like the old ones, and all these other decisions that they're doing, it doesn't really make sense. It just stops having a productive conversation of what actually is working for Call of Duty, what's not working, and what they should improve upon. And I would say from one of the biggest games in the gaming industry, because whether you like that or not, we are playing, I would say, in the history of gaming. You got Halo, Gears, Fortnite is up there for sure. You got Apex. I mean, you have one of the biggest games and one of the, owned by one of the biggest brands. A lot of, great studios that are making these games, and it's really hard to try to go forward and move forward when you have, I would say, 1,000-pound anchor on both ankles to just get, like, okay, let's try this. And then you have all the fans like, no, but make it like that. And then you can't lose your core player base and attract new ones. So they're really stuck here. No one seems to understand that. And then all the conversation with the Black Ops support and everything about it, it's stopping what I would say progressive thinking. It really is stopping it on what the franchise should do to move forward and do as a whole. That being said, I want you guys to think about 2019 and really think about what people say about this game. I talk to anybody, when anybody sees like me wearing my Optic stuff or my Call of Duty shirts, they'll be like, oh dude, you like Call of Duty? I'll be like, yeah. We have a conversation quick, and we talk about Warzone. Yo man, when they bring that Warzone 1 though, 2019, when they bring it back, I swear to God, it's like talking about 2016 LeBron James in the Cavs beating Golden State. But what people don't understand, that was probably the most complete Call of Duty we've ever gotten from Activision. And they constantly talk, you have any conversation with anybody. And I'm not taking away from the experience that it was a good game or a bad game. I'm not taking away from that. But if you talk to anybody about it, they're like, I can't wait for them to bring it back. I can't wait for them to do something like that again. They're constantly waiting. They're constantly waiting. And it is killing the forward movement that the game should have. Like, we are so spoiled to get a new Call of Duty every single year, but people are I can't wait for them to bring that back. But that game itself has so many issues with it. The balancing was off, the metas. People forget how angry they were with certain metas in Warzone. But they still played it, and I'm not denying that. They definitely still played it, But at the end of the day, it's killing that forward movement because they're still waiting for 2019 to come back around. It's like the woman that you met on vacation on the boat of that cruise. Brother, you're never seeing her again. You got to move forward. You're not going to see her again. It's okay. Enjoy that time in your life, but let's play this new game. Let's do this new thing that we're trying to accomplish. But I mean, dude, it's death by 1,000 cuts with the community, and nostalgia farming in the center of the community is killing the game. It by far is just killing the game. It's killing the fan base, and it's death by 1,000 cuts here. And Call of Duty just needs to stop being trapped by its brainwashed, brain dead fans, and just really get back to what makes a good Call of Duty. Make a Call of Duty for what it's known for. And that's not to say, again, this is not to say Black Ops 2, OG, MW2 weren't great games. That's not to say that. But that's to say that if we have the core features and the connections that make a good Call of Duty game, you're going to have a good new Call of Duty. And the Call of Duty can be named whatever. It doesn't matter what the name is. It has nothing to do with the name. But it's about, can the concept be new and fresh and still connect with what makes a Call of Duty a Call of Duty. And that's not saying, they can't reference the old nostalgia stuff. I'm not talking about that. Of course, you could always bring old stuff back. They're doing that in Black Ops 7. But once again, you can't just have that be the nostalgia content slop for every season update and expect to A, pass it off as new, but A, have the community feed on that. And it's bad enough the community is already, programmed like this. But I would say that when it comes to content, and this is specifically for the devs, right? When it comes to the dev part of it and the content part of it, they have to be able to have a better balance of new and fresh and not give into, oh, but give us this, oh, make it like that, if that makes sense. That needs a more fleshed out, thought out idea of what I'm trying to say. But the nostalgia content slop and the season updates that come with that doesn't make the game better as a whole. It actually ruins it and actually gives into what I was talking about before with the community is just brain dead. It actually gives into that, and they need to stop that as a whole. I think that's a very bad habit that they picked up, trying to appease the community in that way with that content. It's really not making the game better as a whole. But I mean, that's really all I got. I really had to get this off my chest because I'm just seeing it constantly, and we're 20 days away from the beta here, about 19, 18 days by the time I post this. And I'm really excited for it. I really am excited for just a Call of Duty that's gonna feel fresh despite the name being MW4. But I played it at the event up in New York at Fanatics Fest, and it went well. I had a whole lot of fun. Everyone received it really well, despite what you're gonna see online. And I really am excited. But I just think the nostalgia for me is just killing the game as a whole. But that's all I got. Always remember, guys, stay true, stay you, and stay frosty. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.